You know, sometimes a series just comes out of nowhere. I remember when my best friend and I first picked up this game in the middle of high school for the PSP. We heard a lot about how good it was over in Japan. It was giant in Japan. It's one of those things where they have these vast subway systems and everyone would just play Monster Hunter on the subway together, right? It's a lot like taking a safari. And there are certain things that you're prepared for when you go somewhere new, when you explore the unknown. And there's usually like one or two small things that just are way out of left field and you can't believe for the life of you that that's what it is.
All right, thank you very much. We're coming up on the end of our Amazon tour here. Yeah, right. We've seen a lot of crazy things. We saw the tapir. That was wicked, like an elephant mixed with a pig. It was crazy. Sloths. Those were wild, seeing those things just move slowly, you know. Just climbing along, minding their own business. But we're getting to the part of the tour now where we have to take things a little more seriously. Because up ahead we're going to be going through a lot of places like creeks, swamps, whatever else. There is a high chance that we might run into something called a kangaroo. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the fish that swims up your pee hole. So we have actually come together. We have put all of our dressings here in the box. And we're going to be passing out metal panties, right? And it keeps it all nice and protected before we go through here. We're going to protect ourselves. We're going to protect each other. Yeah, you in the back, mate. Yeah. Ooh, that's good. I'm not wearing those. You what? When now? Yeah, it's against my constitutional freedoms, right? To be forced to wear something like that. So no, I'm not going to do it. Not at all. This is where you're going to get all national on us, right? The pea fish? This is America. This isn't a communist country. I thought we all know how big of a deal this is. I'm not wearing those at all. Sandra, did you bring the... Yeah, don't give him one. We'll just... I'm sure it'll turn out fine for you, mate, but that's the risk you're taking. They've got spikes. They stick up inside you, right? You can't pull that thing out. Do you not know how painful that... It usually ends in amputation, mate. They've got to snip it off. Look, if you're scared, you wear the panties. I'm not scared. I'm going to take my chances with whatever, the pea fish, whatever. Oh, it's good stuff. So if that's the risk you want to take, you know, go for it, I guess.
Man, really feel attacked as an American sometimes. So, Monster Hunter Freedom for the PlayStation Portable. It was fantastic. I'm just not even going to sugarcoat this. Through the gate, it is one of the best game series, Monster Hunter, that has ever existed in any capacity, on any amount of systems. I will go to the grave saying that. It'll just ruin your life. Like, it's so good in every way, shape, and form. And. The series just gets so good from A to B. Like, when you go to the beginning of the series, it's pretty good. When you get to the newest game, Monster Hunter Rise, it's still super good. Like, it's so... Every single thing is great. Underwater sucks. So we're gonna put Monster Hunter Tri down at the bottom, and Monster Hunter Rise is definitely... Monster Hunter Rise and World are right up there. Monster Hunter Freedom on the PSP came out 15 years ago. That whole series, and we're gonna say this is the start of the series because the original Monster Hunter on PlayStation 2 was awful. How the controls were mapped out on the controller made that game unplayable. If you go back and try it and you're like, how do I attack? How do I dodge? How do I use items? Did you guess the right analog stick for all of them? It sucked. It sucked super bad. When you take that game though, and you add another layer of like difficulty, upping the monster's health and stuff, and add more armors and more weapons to keep up with it, and then transform your controller scheme to a PlayStation Portable, you have probably the best game on the PSP. You will not play anything else when you really get into Monster Hunter Freedom. You just won't. There's nothing that even comes close to the vastness, the reward for your, good gameplay, the setback of when you just suck. And it's so funny in the Monster Hunter community when people are like, how do I beat this? The response across the board every single time is learn the fight and get good. It's all you have to do. You can pretty much beat any boss monster in this game with any set of armor or any weapon you choose, but you have to know how to beat the boss. And you can do that by fighting it more, getting its armor. Its own armor usually helps beat it in a way. Like, if say a monster can shoot poison, well, his armor is going to have resistance to poison. Cool. The boss monsters have attack patterns, fleeing patterns, it's some other weird, like flinching patterns. They try to make it approachable so that, not just weebs or weird Americans are going to be good at this game. They tried to make it so that, like, if you don't button mash, because you will die, but like plan out how you're going to dodge around it, plan out what part you're going to attack, plan out what element or raw damage you're going to bring on your weapon. If you want to bring a hammer versus a blade or a gun versus a hammer, you got options. I've been playing this game the past few weeks, trying to just build a mediocre set of armor so I could show like one of the cool fights. I think I'm about there, so. How? I had my block up. There are 7 different weapons in Monster Hunter Freedom, right? Great sword, sword and shield, dual blades, hammer, heavy bowgun, light bowgun, lance. All right, did I get that right? Yeah. These weapons are vastly different. Every single one is just very unique. How you play the boss with each weapon is vastly different. There's no like bad weapon to choose. Sword and shield and lance are mathematically the best in the first generation just because of something called a damage multiplier, but we don't even need to get into that right now. On the PSP, the reason that Monster Hunter Freedom gets like my #1 PSP game spot is because they took a PS2 game, transformed it into a PSP game. The PS2 game sucked because of the controls. What did they do on the PSP? They fixed the controls. There's only one critique and it's called the claw, and we'll discuss that later. But the controls map out onto the PlayStation Portable infinitely better than Monster Hunter on the PlayStation 2 2 years beforehand. Bosses. This game essentially is a chain of boss fights. You will take a quest, it'll say go kill this boss monster. You go, okay, I'm gonna go kill that boss monster. You go and kill that boss monster. You literally carve its dead carcass for scales and claws and wing talons and whatever else, and then you make armor and weapons out of those pieces. And if you go, oh, that sounds fun, you have no idea how fun it is. The feedback loop of get the quest, kill the monster, carve the parts, make the armor. Get the quest, kill the monster, carve the parts, make the armor. It just loops like 4 or 5 times around just for one monster. And then you get all the armor and the weapons and you're like, cool, what's next? Here's another, here's another. Here's another. There's like 30 monsters in this game. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then in Monster Hunter Freedom, they added different colors of existing monsters. And I just want to ignore the first game completely. I don't even want to consider Monster Hunter the first Monster Hunter game. It was Monster Hunter Freedom. That set up everything for success in the next coming games. In fact, even the most current game, Monster Hunter Rise, uses the attack patterns for Rathalos and Rathian. Like, it was very well designed, and it was so addicting. I lost out on so many moments of my life because I wanted to play Monster Hunter instead of like going to prom. Oh my gosh, all right. The charges in this game, like when a monster charges at you, there's 0 tell. It doesn't have like a warning sign. Come on, don't leave. Come on. Perfect. Charge over here. Let's set this trap. I just need you to come right through the trap. Just right. Ah, there we go. The quests are fine. They're generic. Most of the quests are, hey, go kill this boss. Cool. There are a lot of varietal quests where it's like, hey, instead of killing the monster this time, capture the monster. Cool. There's other quests where it says, hey, you like this monster and this monster and this monster? Here's one quest with all three. Go kill them all. That's pretty sweet. The worst type of quests are gathering quests, and even the most current games, they do gathering better, but especially in the first game, especially Monster Hunter Freedom. Gathering items and doing quests that require you to like get an item and then slowly bring it back because it's heavy and your character has to physically carry it, they're nauseating. They're awful. Like they kept those quests going until like Monster Hunter World, and I don't get why they did it. That's not why we're playing the game. They're thinking, and I know exactly what they're thinking. It's a cooperative game. While you're carrying something heavy, your teammates can like fend off the monsters. There was no online play at this time. You had to be in a room with someone else who had a PSP, also had Monster Hunter, and you guys were like doing the same quests. All right, one gathering quest. Just give me herbs. I can't remember. I don't think so. Needleberry. This is a gathering quest. The armors and weapons made this game. Like there's so many sets of armors, so many different weapons, so many things to make. There's an uncountable amount of them, except for the people online who have counted them. Quick shout out, there are people who are called fashion hunters who play this game specifically to get their hunter, you know, who you play as, to look like a movie character, a comic book character, whatever. It's really cool how people come pretty close. It's much more accurate in the newer games because you can change the color of armors in some ways, but in the old games, it was very interesting to see some of the things people pulled off. The armors look imaginative. It looks like you made something out of the pieces of the boss you just murdered and carved its body parts off of. And usually the armor helps you with that boss because armors give you sets of skills. And it would give you these like numbers. It would say like dodge, right? You can dodge in the game. It'll be like evade +3. Well, you had to get to 10. And usually, if you use the same piece of armor, all the skills line up so you activate those skills. In newer games, you can mix and match stuff. But in the older games, you had to just do one whole armor set straight down. There was almost no option. There was almost no customization beyond that. However, the armor and the weapons really shine when they play into the gameplay's feedback loop, where you accept a quest, kill a monster, carve the parts, make the stuff. You have so much to make that you just want to go back and kill that monster. Spend the 10 minutes, go kill it really quick, make that part. Woohoo! You get a little bit more closer to your goal. And then once you've killed that monster, and you have all the armor or the weapon that you're trying to make or whatever, there's a new monster to go and kill. And this goes on and on and on. And not only to add on to that, they have the low rank, which is just the hand-holdy baby level. And then you've got high rank, which is like you might die a lot. And then you've got G rank, or in Monster Hunter World and Rise, they're gonna call it master rank. Fine, I don't know why Americans wanted this. Oh, I can't be a G rank hunter, I have to be master hunter.
Call me master.
That's weird. The soundtrack. Sound is impeccable. All the sounds of every monster, their roars are super unique. The bugs buzzing in the background, the water, when it's running through an area, you get to hear everything. The soundtrack behind it is also so good. It's this big booming orchestral soundtrack that just floods in and out anytime you're near a monster. It has like a battle theme. It gets developed more and more later on. I think in the first game they only had a couple battle themes, and it's just the same dun digga dun dun digga dun. It's boring. But the final boss has a different version of that theme. Monster Hunter Freedom specifically had like this idea of just use classical music, use a whole orchestra, use a big booming soundtrack, right? And it was done before, but it was not done as well on a handheld device. You have a phone now, and almost all the games on your phone that are, legitimately made by developers have a cool, unique, big, flushed out soundtrack. Thanks, Monster Hunter Freedom. you did that. The graphics were fine. They didn't stand out in any way, shape, or form. Nothing looks ultra realistic, nothing really like, wow, like that. But they spent a lot more time on making the monster's design unique. The computing power was clearly put towards fast, active gameplay rather than, you know, beauty and in textual environments, whatever. It was fine. You were not playing the game to look at it. You were playing the game to fight a boss monster. The level design is very good. There's one glaring flaw, and I'll get to that in a second, but generally, the environments are interactive. There's like a desert, a swamp, lava caverns, you know, there's a lot going on. The trick is, when you go from one section of the map to another, the Sony PSP did not have the power to generate the whole map as one interactive thing. But what it did have the power to do was generate like a decent sized room that you could move around in and fight the monster in. Not giant, it feels like fighting on a football field pretty much every time. But then you had like 12 or 13 football fields to choose from. And in between those football fields was a loading screen. And it took 7 to 10 seconds every time, depending on how big that area was, to go from area 3 to area 4. And we just kind of dealt with it. I mean, there wasn't much you could do. It was worth playing the game, so that was cool. How's my battery looking? Battery looking good, looking real good. Woo. It's so intense. It's so much harder than Monster Hunter Rise. Oh my gosh, it's good. Cool. That's kind of a whole boss fight. The level design in Monster Hunter is wildly creative. They added day and night cycles in this game from the first game. The levels are vast, they're interactive, they have many hidden secrets. At one point in the game, when you start a quest, there might be a chance that you're dropped into a hidden room with very valuable gathering spots. You have interactive environments like you can't go in the water per se, but the monsters can. And you have to try and drag them out by throwing a specific item or by fishing them out by force with a frog. Using potions, you have to stand still, you do an entire animation, you flex for some reason, and then you're good to go. They've fixed this. It was this way for a long time. For about 4 generations of Monster Hunter, you had to sit there, drink a potion, flex, and then go back to fighting the monster, which that's flawed, but they had to do something, right? The gathering in this game is unbearable, and it's such a huge part of Monster Hunter. You have to go into the levels, you have to find rare spots, you have to bring items to use those gathering points. Like if it's a mining point, you have to bring a pickaxe. If you want to catch bugs, you have to bring a bug net. If you want to fish, you have to bring bait. So before you even go into the quest, you have to prepare to use those items. So, oh, what's that? Just one pickaxe? No, you had to bring 3 or 4 because when you use them, they would just break. Just because. And if that wasn't even that crazy, there's moments in regular gathering points like, oh, here's an herb on the ground. I can see the herb. My character goes down to pick the herb, but sometimes, just sometimes, it'll say, oh, nothing found. There's definitely stuff here, but we just didn't find anything this time.
Do it again.
And you have to sit through the whole animation of that part is immersion breaking because you as a person, you're like, oh, that's a flower. And you like go to pick the flower and you're like, oh, missed it. And then you go to like, what? How did, like when you hit the wall, like when you're mining, if you're just like, tink, yeah, nothing. Take, oh, here's something. Like, it's just stupid. And the last thing to finish off this review, I've got one more minor criticism, and that's of the camera. When they mapped out the controls onto the PlayStation Portable, they kept the camera controls the same for some reason, which was the D-pad. I don't know if I can like show it up here, but the D-pad on the PSP moved the camera, so you had to use the joystick with your thumb while you're fighting, and then you would manually move the camera with your pointer finger. It's called the claw. And it had a joke running for a long time with not only Monster Hunter, but any game on the PSP that tied the camera to that. It's fine. I used it. I still play piano, so it clearly didn't mess me up that badly. But that was it. Now I want to see what armor I can build out of that. Let's see. Rathalos Soul. There we go. Hearing protection, short sharpness, psychic vision. That's super good. As always, I tried to make this review skit thing that I do as spoiler-free as possible. I don't think I've ruined anything in the game for you. I think I did a pretty good job of like vaguely explaining how it works. You need to go pick up the game and try it because it will consume maybe 600 plus hours of your life. It's sincerely good. And it aged fairly well, except for the gathering and climbing and the camera angle thing. Everything else, awesome. I hope you enjoyed everything. I've got a lot going on right now. I've got a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Got it all going for this thing. I also have a Patreon video that I just came out with, and right now I'm working for the Kickstarter video because I would like to actually put a little more time to doing these things, and I need help to do that. So if you want to help, awesome. If not, I'm not really beholden to anyone. I'm gonna keep doing this, but you know, I would make more. I would probably make more if I had like the time and money to be able to dedicate like a day a week to just this. No laundry, no bull crap, no work. Whew. Oh God, it'd be so much fun. Thank you for stopping by. I greatly appreciate it. If you want to hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, leave a mean comment, whatever, do whatever you want. I think the next game I'm going to work on is going to be GoldenEye 007. I already started doing a couple skits for that. I think I put one up. I'm not sure, you know, what else I'm going to be doing today and tomorrow, but if you can't tell, I film in batches. So yeah, have a wonderful day. Try out Monster Hunter Freedom on the PSP. I promise it'll change your life. And if you get into the Monster Hunter series, I'll talk all day about it. I plan to do almost every game in the series except the third one. So, all right, bye. Got it. Oh no, no! I'm dead. Come on.